You could be missing out on 20 million travelers a year if you own a short-term rental that's listed on platforms like Airbnb and VRBO. As crazy as it sounds, it's the truth. There are over 20 million Americans that report having travel limitations because of their disabilities. Actually, 94% of travelers with a mobile disability report having a problem finding suitable accommodations. It's tough to find a place to stay. I can speak from personal experience. Last Christmas, we booked a house for the family. Grandparents decided to come as well, and I didn't even think about it. Grandpa's in a wheelchair. He's only got one leg. They needed wheelchair ramps. They needed handicap accessible bathrooms. They needed wider doors. There was all these things that they needed to make them feel comfortable and really to even make it possible for them to stay with us. So we ended up canceling the property that we had originally booked, and we found a handicap accessible property, which was really hard to do. And so I started doing some research, and I realized that the numbers are staggering. There's a couple reports out there that show that only 1 out of 1,000 short-term rentals are optimized for people with disabilities. And I think it's a huge miss in a market as a whole. I think I can speak with a lot of credibility because years ago, I was preaching family-friendly properties and how people need to double down on making sure that these properties are kid-friendly and family-friendly, because that's the majority of the people that are traveling to short-term rentals. And now that's the trend. Right now, everybody's focusing on family-friendly properties because they finally got it. The couple that's traveling, they got the option to stay in a hotel. They can stay in a shared space. They can crash with friends. They can stay in a resort. There's so many options that single couple without kids traveling has. But when you're traveling with kids and a family, it's tough. You need a house with multiple rooms, a kitchen, washer and dryer, multiple bathrooms. And so Airbnb VRBOs are the go-to for families. And I was talking about this years ago. What I'm saying is going to happen next is that more and more investors will start doubling downing on making their properties handicap accessible, elderly accessible with less steps, handicap bathrooms with rails. They're going to really focus in on accessibility for people with disabilities and making their property friendly for them. Airbnb has just released, it's one of the coolest things I've seen, their new adapted category. And so this is at the top of the Airbnb. It's one of the things that they're promoting. And what is it? It's properties that are accessible for people with disabilities and limitations. They see the writing on the wall as well, as there are more and more travelers talking about the fact that it's hard for them to find accommodations. And so what you will start to see is more and more investors capitalizing on that market. There's really not a lot of great options for people out there. There's a few websites. There's one called Become Rentable, Rentable, A-B-L-E. Rent's the first word, A-B-L-E is the second word. They smushed them together. And it's a cool website. It's got a lot of properties that are custom outfitted and tailored towards people that are traveling with disabilities. And you can get your property up on that website if you have a property that accommodates those people. And so there's been a few things happening like that over the last few years. But I think the biggest thing is Airbnb doubling down on this. They've created that category for accessibility. And I think that it's going to be something that they're going to push. And so my next property, I guarantee you, I will make sure that it's handicap accessible, that I've got all the things to really make people comfortable. That's a big trend that I see. I wanted to share it with everyone here today. I think that you can really differentiate your property by niching down. And I think this is a great niche to get into. A lot of people, according to the statistics, are traveling with a family member that's disabled, and you can make their lives so much easier by making sure your property is set up to accommodate them. You can also charge a premium because you probably will have the only property in your market that can accommodate those folks. And so here's some key tips that I want to give you to make sure your house and your home is accessible for people with disabilities. One, if you can have limited to no steps. I know that a lot of times is just a byproduct of the real estate itself, and you can't really control that unless you're building the house from scratch. If you have a property with limited to no stairs, you definitely are going to give yourself an advantage. I see a lot of properties, at the beach. I'm at the beach right now. I see a lot of these homes have either wheelchair ramps or small elevators for people in wheelchairs that are handicapped. And that can be a way to get someone up to the main floor if you do have a lot of steps. It's something I would consider installing. I also want to emphasize the bathrooms. Having a handicap accessible shower is not really any more expensive than just installing a shower or a bathtub. There's a lot of different makes and models. Having built-in secure handrails on the walls can be a great way to help make that bathroom more handicap accessible for people. And then the door jambs, that's a big one. Having door jambs that are at least 32 inches wide, if you can manage it, I think is a great idea. Again, that's going to come down to the real estate itself. But if you're remodeling a home, I consider widening those doors if you are building something from scratch. And then more so than the physical real estate, I want to dive into the furniture, the amenities, the essentials, all those things that you provide. Just try to be strategic and do a little bit of online research for what people that are are traveling with disabilities would like to have in the home in order to make it more user-friendly for them. And I think a lot of them are similar to what normal everyday travelers are looking for. And that would be furniture that's comfortable, that's sturdy, that's easy to use. The last thing I want to put in a house is a white couch that is cloth that's going to get destroyed. I want to make sure that things are sturdy and they're easy to clean and easy to take care of. I want to have blackout curtains in my bedrooms so that people who maybe have any sleep problems are going to be able to sleep. White noise machines in the bedrooms as well, I think is huge. And just really do a little deep dive and figure out how you can best accommodate that group of people, because we're seeing a lot of travelers complaining about accommodation problems. A lot of companies starting to promote, like Airbnb, homes that are friendly for people with disabilities. I think this is the next big trend you can get on. I think this is a great way to capitalize on a market that is underserviced. And at the end of the day, you're also just doing good work for people. Where if you're in the hospitality business and you have guests that are looking for a place to stay and you have a property that takes good care of them, makes them feel at home and makes them feel comfortable with the things that they need, that's just great hospitality. And it's rewarding on a personal level and it's rewarding on a financial level. So if you have any questions, please drop me an email, jump over to our website, strcribs.com. I'm happy to connect with you. I'm happy to give you any more advice, and go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, and we will be posting new content every week. Thanks, guys.